In honor of Columbia Pictures celebrating its 100th anniversary by re-releasing every live-action Spider-Man movie in theaters, I'm giving you my review on all 8 live-action Spider-Man movies. Today, I'm giving you my thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, in my opinion, the most overhated and most underrated Spider-Man movie. I understand that a lot of people tend to see a lot of the bad with this film, and I don't disagree. I do see many issues with the film myself, and I see the flaws that it has, but in my opinion, the good in this movie far outweighs the bad, and I've always been a defender of this movie. Um, uh, Andrew Garfield continues to shine as Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I said in my Amazing Spider-Man review last week, Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man and always has been my favorite Spider-Man. He just brings so much charisma to the role, and he's so lovable. You can just tell he has so much fun playing this character, and he has a ton of fun with his quips and jokes, and he just loves it. The relationship between Peter and Gwen also absolutely continues to shine here. They're my favorite relationship, and Gwen Stacy is my favorite love interest that we've ever gotten in a Spider-Man movie. So I think that is the strongest part about this movie is Andrew Garfield and his relationship with Emma Stone. Peter and Gwen's relationship is, in my opinion, by far the best part of this movie. I think Electro is a decent villain. I definitely think he could have done better, and No Way Home certainly improved him a fair bit. But I don't think he's all that bad in this movie. You understand his motivations. He feels kind of thrown to the side, and he feels like he's just angry at the world and at Spider-Man for not noticing him. He feels like he's invisible to the entire world. He just wants people to know who he is, and like he wants to feel recognized. So I understand his motivations in this movie, and while I do think it is a little weird with the blue look, kind of looks like an avatar in this movie, I don't think he's all that bad of a villain. I think the score is really great in this movie, almost a better score. I think the score in this movie is better than the score from The Amazing Spider-Man, and how could you not love the suit from this movie? I mean, one of the most comic accurate live action suits with the huge white eyes, the textured webbing. I love it. I still slightly prefer the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit, and I know that might be a bit of a hot take, but I do love the suit in this movie. The web swinging and the visual effects are also really solid in this movie. I love all the web swinging and the different angles that they're able to get, and with Electro's lightning, I think the visual effects with that look really solid, and it makes for some really cool action sequences in this film. But that being said, I do think there are several flaws with this movie, so let's get into some of the negatives. And my main negative with this movie is similar to Spider-Man 3. I think it's just a little bit messy at times. I think since it's a sequel, they tried to go bigger, and I think they were trying to go better, but it didn't quite work out that way. They were trying to up the ante a lot, and because of that, they ended up forcing too much into one movie. And even though the film is 2.5 hours long, I don't think that was the right way to go. I think they should have just kept it with one villain in Electro. I don't think they needed Paul Giamatti's Rhino. Don't even get me started on that character, and definitely don't get me started on Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin. I do not like that they did that at the end, making him another villain. I think it would have been much better if they just kept Electro as the main villain, because when you put all these different villains and trying to shove him in as with kind of like a team up at the end between Electro and Green Goblin, it just doesn't work for me. And I think it's just a little bit too much. On the topic of Green Goblin, I have never extremely enjoyed the inclusion of Harry Osborn in this movie. I think it feels a little bit random to put Harry in this movie because he was never mentioned at all in The Amazing Spider-Man. And I understand that when Peter very first meets him, he says that it's been a long time since they've seen each other. It's been like 8 years since they've seen each other. But still, it just feels sort of random, feels almost forced at times, I think. And the whole plot line with Harry trying to rid himself of the disease that his father passed on to him, I've just never been a huge fan of that plotline. I also don't think I think everything with Peter's parents, that whole plot line has never really worked for me, especially the scene towards the end with Peter finding out that the DNA in the spider that bit him was his father's DNA. Stuff like that. Just all these plot lines never really work. I think me personally, I think this movie would have been much better if they kept it to a simple Peter and Gwen trying to figure out their relationship, and Peter has to go up against Electro. Electro is the main villain and the main threat of this film. I think if they had kept it to that, it would have been a lot better. And it probably would have been a much shorter movie, but I think at the end of the day, I would prefer a shorter, more grounded movie than a 2.5 hour movie with a bunch of messy plot lines. But despite all of its flaws, I still love this movie. Like I said, I've always defended it, always liked it more than most, and I don't think I'll ever exactly hate this movie, but there are flaws that I see in it every time I watch it. What do you think of this movie? Let me know down in the comments below. And until my next video, stay tuned next week for my review on Spider-Man Homecoming. Until then, like this video, subscribe to my channel, it would really mean a lot, and keep watching movies. Goodbye.